Bullet. Like it's another bullet that's more uncommon than the 10 millimeter bullet.
I'll tell you this. I will see a Colt 45 more than I see a 10 millimeter bullet.
Correct. Me too.
And a Colt 45 is used in more. It's a 100-something years old bullet. It's used in more guns today than this 10 millimeter bullet. No, all right. You know what really kicks me in the butt?
What?
When people comment on this particular video right here.
Right.
It's our 40 Smith & Wesson history. Now, in the video, I said this is off the top of my head.
Right.
But people saying everything in the video, or a lot of things in the video, is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to watch the video right quick?
Yeah, let's watch the video.
Give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
This is off the top.
I can hear it.
But look at this bullet right here.
Wait, pause it. Because the first thing you said is this is off the top of the head. This is off the top of the head.
Correct.
Why can't people just give you grace? Like, you can't get any grace or room for error. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think they think since a lot of these videos on social media is scripted, and the majority of our videos are not scripted, so they can't realize that a person can say something just out of the blue, but just record it at the same time.
Right.
Like for the basis of this video, I was straightening up my gun chest. That's all it was. I said, "Oh, let me make a good educational video to show people the history of Smith & Wesson." But yes, that first statement, they couldn't hear that.
This is a 38 special. Come on, camera. This is a 38 special. This was the common bullet by the police officers for 50, 60 years.
All right, Brandon, what did I just say?
It was a common bullet used by the police officers for 50 or 60 years.
And that's the 38 special, right?
Correct.
That is a true statement, Brandon.
Yeah, and that's kind of when I first heard about 38 special, because I can't remember what police officer or crime show it was on, but you know, that's just the first time I heard 38 special. But go ahead.
All right.
For a long time, they had a 32. Let me show you a 32. God, come on. They started with one of these, then they upgrade to this. Then in the 80s, they got.
Now, I said, then they had a 32, right?
Mm-hmm.
The police used a 32 auto for 1920 up to like the 70s or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's a true statement.
So where did you just get this off the top of your head, or just this stuff you know? Like I say, because I know you know a lot of history and you read a lot. But did you do a book report? But listen, this is what people think. Did you do a book report and then you decided, let me go ahead and make a video? Is that what you did?
No, I didn't.
No, it's not right. That's what I'm saying. Did you Google on the internet and then did you go pull out a bunch of bullets and then try to do a video?
When people were saying I was lying, then I Googled on the internet. Then to make sure my information that I learned a decade ago was correct.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, so a 32 auto, the police started using it in 1930.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they used it like 70, 60 years, you know. And then they went to a 38 special.
I got you.
Both of those factual information.
All right.
Then they upgrade to this. Then in the 80s, they got in a big shootout that these things right here was doing the job, because you can go up to a person with a submachine gun with a little 38 special.
In the 1980s, the police has had a lot of shootouts.
Is that the cocaine cowboy era you were talking about in Miami? Okay. Right.
So in the 80s, you know, the gangsters, the criminals, they get the good stuff before the police get them.
Right.
So they was on the Uzis.
Right, that's what I'm about to say.
They was on the Mini 14s.
Right.
They was on the big semi-automatic pistols.
Right.
And
imagine trying to shoot out with somebody with a revolver or something like that. You're gonna be like, you know what? We may need to change how we're dealing with these criminals, these savages. Maybe we should switch up how we're doing things.
And that's exactly happened. And that happened in the 1980s.
Okay.
All right.
I'm with you so far.
You with me so far?
I'm with you. Mm-hmm.
What's this? Smith & Wesson has developed the 40 cal bullet to replace that 38 special.
And here lies the issue with most people. Watch my words, Brandon. I said during that time, Smith & Wesson developed the 40 cal bullet. People got their panties in a bunch. You know why, Brandon?
I do not know why.
Because I did not mention the 10 millimeter bullet. And since people they love them for some reason, I guess for social media, people started like this uncommon round called the 10 millimeter bullet. It's so uncommon, I skipped over it and went to the solution, the 40 cal bullet.
How long did they attempt to use the 10 millimeter or just take it into consideration? Like, why did you skip over? I get why you skipped over because it's not really a factor. It's not how you close. You're not trying to close with that one.
Yeah, correct. I'm not trying to close with the 10 millimeter. Me stating the 10 millimeter is like saying, if you like Toyotas, you have to like Henry Ford. Because if it wasn't for Henry Ford with that assembly line, Toyota won't be in that today.
I got you.
Who gives a F about the assembly line? We talk about Toyotas here.
Right. But I guess they want you to break down every piece like you're telling the whole history. And that's not the point.
In 59 seconds, Brandon.
Right. That's the thing.
So the part people was getting crazy about, we going to talk about what about the 10 millimeter? So instead of me skipping over this nonchalant bullet, because it did not really make it into the mainstream, that's why I skipped over it. Let's talk about this nonchalant bullet.
But before you do that, when people like to key in on every detail, but when we try to talk about the impact slavery had, we need to skip over that whole thing and everybody's equal and we just need to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. They don't want to talk about that, but
Brandon, we ain't gonna make this a race.
I'm just saying, Brandon. I just want to throw that out there because I just have to, because I just find it so funny how people are. But go ahead.
Well, what really gets me, for 3 years, I wanted to be trained to be a teacher. And in that clip, I said all factual statements, and the community who watches our stuff says my statements was incorrect.
Right.
But they was all facts. Just because I didn't input a sentence talking about the 10 millimeter bullet, the whole thing is nonsense.
Right.
So we gonna talk about the 10 millimeter bullet, and guess what, Brandon?
Right.
We gonna use the damn report the test they did testing the 10 millimeter bullet. You ain't gonna find out on the internet, did you? I did it yesterday. 30 minutes of reading and 30 minutes of putting this little thing right here together.
But do you think people care that much that you left it out? Like, what do you think the whole thing is? Just to prove they're people on the internet trying to find things that are wrong and tell you that you're wrong and this is why? It doesn't matter what you said. It doesn't matter if everything you said made sense and you just left something out that you didn't want to put in.
It proves that they said over 100 million Americans read at the 6th grade level. and
comprehension skills.
And out of those 3,000 likes, a good percentage of comments hollered about a 10 millimeter bullet that really never really mass hit the scene. And and a lot of people who commented on my comment that said wrong stuff in history on my stuff, you know? So we gonna clarify all that. So Brandon, you ready to go?
I guess, but this is my thing too. Where can I go? Can I go to a store right now and get a 10 millimeter? Can I go to Academy Sports and get a 10 millimeter?
You can.
Is it on the shelf? Like I've never heard of a 10 millimeter, and that's just because I'm not into weapons, into firearms, into bullets like that, and don't know the history. So,
well, I tell you this: I purchased some bullets 3 weeks ago. I ain't see no 10 millimeter. Now, I wasn't looking for a 10 millimeter, but I didn't see a 10 millimeter.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Just.
And this round is really not used because it's very expensive and it's uncommon, really. It's very uncommon.
So how many, like in percentage of bullets, how many are they making? If you had to give me a ballpark, just like a percentage, like 223s, they make how many you think as far
on this round, less than 1%.
Gotcha.
Because like I said, I was at Bass Pro Shops and the old man was talking to another guy in front of the bullets I wanted to get. And this old guy, he just lived his life just talking. He worked there. That's his bright, a lot of old people like talking. His bright of the day. So I was scanning the halves. I ain't not seen one 10 millimeter bullet.
Is it one that's more uncommon than that one is?
What you mean?
Bullet. Like is there another bullet that's more uncommon than a 10 millimeter bullet?
I'll tell you this. I will see a Colt 45 more than I see a 10 millimeter bullet.
Correct. Me too.
And a Colt 45 is used in more. It's a 100 and something years old bullet. It's used in more guns today than this 10 millimeter bullet.
No,
all right.
That everybody's talking about. Everybody on the internet.
Talking about a 10 millimeter bullet?
Yeah, they talking about a 10 millimeter.
And they crazy, man. They crazy. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody. I could buy more guns with a Colt 45, a bullet designed in the 1800s.
But do you think people were reading the comments and then they kind of just was like, oh, it is a 10 millimeter bullet. And let me comment about it too, because I don't want to feel like I didn't know about the 10 millimeter bullet. You don't think so?
The people who comment about the 10 millimeter bullet, most likely their penis size is 2 inches. So they live in their manhood through this big, powerful, busting of a gun. So that's why those people were so passionate, because that's how they see their manhood, doing something big and strong, because they don't got nothing big and strong themselves.
That's crazy.
All right. In 1987, I believe, after the shootout from 1986, the FBI said, we need some damn better bullets, man.
Right.
We need to have a bullet that incapacitation. Is that how you say it?
I don't know what that is.
That means stopping power.
Okay.
By psychological factors and not
psychological. Why can't I talk psychologically, not psychologically? Why is my tongue heavy?
Okay. Let's do the difference. This one right here, Brandon, can you read this whole thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna skip that first word. In the law enforcement context, may be simply described as bringing about the immediate cessation of hostile or threatening activities. Encapsulation may result from physically or psychological factors. Psychologically, some individuals are predisposed to fall down at the sound of gunfire, while others may continue to fight even through the serious, even fatal wounds, because a particular person's psychological response to a gunshot wound can be predicted. Ammunition performance must be viewed from a perspective of psychological incapacitation. Is that what that is?
Okay, Brandon, I will give you some tips, Brandon. If you don't know the word, say it like you know it. Nobody gonna make it.
No, I'm not about to do that.
I say it like you know it, and nobody won't make a difference.
Let me try to look this up because this is crazy.
Now you don't need to try to look it up.
I want to hear how to say it because it seems like we know what that word is. But let me see if I could get it.
All right.
Go ahead.
This is from the report of your 10 millimeter testing. Nobody on the internet is talking about this. The FBI said you got two ways people succumb to a gun going off.
Incapacitation. That's what it is. Okay, we're tripping. Incapacitation.
You got two ways people react to a gun going off. If they hear a sound, pow! Some people just fall out. Don't even get hit. But Brandon, you know what black people do when they hear a gunshot? What they do?
They run.
There you go.
You get low and run.
That's our report. Get out of there. But per the FBI, some people can hear a gunshot and it's over.
Right. What you mean it's over?
They got them. They incapacitated.
Okay.
Brandon, I can have a gun.
I
shoot in the air. Pow! You be like, don't hit me. I get down to the ground. Mission accomplished. You see, you gave up. I didn't have to hit you with it.
Right.
You just heard that sound and said, "Oh Jesus, I want to get hit with it."
Right.
But some people can get hit with a bullet. I said, I ain't over yet, Jack. So the FBI said, in some cases, we can't just use the sound of the gun going off. We have to put people down physically. Yes. So this report is only going by physically, putting a person down physically. You know what I mean?
Yes.
All right. So they are not going to talk about shot placement. They're going to talk about penetration. The reason they ain't going to talk about shot placement in this case, because it could be people behind stuff. Sometimes you may not have a good shot, a good angle to hit the person in a good shot placement. Now, I know in all our other videos, Brennan, we talked about shot placement is key. But that's with a civilian. These are not civilians, Brandon. These are armed agent people. So they may have to shoot you behind a wall. In civilian cases, you should not shoot a person behind a wall.
And why is that?
Because you can escape. If you can't see them, you can back up and call the cops.
I get what you're saying. But just so people are clear, yeah, right.
But if you are the FBI, you are the cops. So ain't nobody to call. So you got to shoot them behind the wall.
Got you.
You see, and people, they get a big state. They be thinking they Rambo in this thing. So this whole test is not about shot placement. It's about penetration.
But what is the difference? I guess what was special about the 10 millimeter bullet? As far as
the hell up and let me finish the damn thing.
No, but because
ask me another question.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Because I want to know, because I just can't understand why people are they wanted to throw that in there so bad. I just don't get it. But go ahead. I'll be patient and try to wait.
All right. The FBI test program was designed to evaluate bullet penetration and wound size. Now, the wound size has the penetration is weighed heavily more than wound size. All right. Oops, hold on. Now, after the shootout, since those pistols, the 38 Special and the shotgun, they didn't like them, the director of the FBI told its agents, y'all can use your personal guns, but they have to be in the 9mm or the 40 cal or 45. But
I got you.
because they didn't have they knew the 38 specials wasn't doing the job.
Right.
So they said until we find a replacement, you can use your personal guns you bought at the gun shop.
But let me ask you. So, do you think if you was an officer, would you feel better with your personal gun that you feel comfortable with going against somebody with a Uzi or something like that, an assault rifle? Do you think you could take somebody down, a trained officer? You think you could take a drug dealer down in a cocaine cowboy era?
If I was of course, I would feel most comfortable with the gun that I shoot the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't tell you what caliber that is, but I would feel more comfortable with the caliber I shoot the best.
Right.
But in this case, the director of the FBI said it had to be a 9mm or the 45.
Gotcha.
Also, in this ranking, I didn't talk about this, but the FBI ranked both of these calibers as acceptable. So the guns, they wanted to test. They went to test they test 3 calibers. They tested the 9mm subsonic. Brady, you know what subsonic means?
Mm-mm.
It's below the speed of sound. And what's biased about this test, they got the 9mm, they got the 40 cal, and they got the hand-loaded 10mm.
Mm-hmm.
A subsonic 9mm is damn near stupid, Brandon.
Why you say that?
Because a 9mm needs speed to be effective.
Right.
But they didn't test for. They chose the slowest 9mm to use in the test.
And why did they do that though?
The reason they use the slow 9mm because they wanted all the velocities to be the same.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So hence a hand-loaded 10mm. So to test a 10mm in this case, they had to hand-load it, Brandon, because the commercial 10mm was too powerful to create an equal playing field.
And when you say too powerful, how?
Okay, let's say a 9mm can push out 300.
Mm-hmm.
A fully loaded 10mm may be pushing out 800 pounds of pressure.
And how does that affect your hand or the target? Like,
I'm just saying, it's going through you, Brandon. That's what it's going to do.
But is it going to keep going? But that's what I'm saying. It could have hit bystander. Could it, that's what I'm saying. So is that why they didn't want to do that? Didn't go.
Well, at this time, they wasn't worried about bystanders. they kind of said that in the report that if the FBI shot 100 rounds, only 20 of them went inside the subject and 80 went somewhere else.
All over the place, right. Mm-hmm.
So they wasn't really to that point yet, but they could not use a commercial 10mm because it was too powerful.
Gotcha.
So they hand loaded the 10mm to match the velocity of the 9mm and the 45. Okay. And you know what's sad about this, Brandon? The people talking about 10mm, they ain't gonna listen to none of this presentation.
But that's the thing too. I was gonna say, like, we can break it down if you wanted to, if people wanted to, but people just want stuff in a 60 seconds or 30-second clip, and then you think you're gonna be able to fit all the information in 60 seconds. That's not what we were trying to do with that video, or that's not what you were trying to do in that video.
I was trying to get from the beginning and go straight to the end, straight to the end.
Right.
Now, are some of the parameters they use to test doing this test. They wanted the penetration at least to be 12 inches, and they wanted the wound size. Now, Brandon, on this side over here, can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
It's 8 different tests. Can you what in test 1? What did they rate?
Bare gluten at 10 feet.
All right. Test 2 was having clothing at 10 feet. What was test 3?
20 gauge steel at 10 feet.
Test 4 was wall board at 10 feet. How about number 5, Brady?
Plywood at 10 feet.
Number 6 was auto glass at 10 feet. Brandon was number 7.
Like clothing at 20 yards.
And the last one was auto glass at 20 yards. So the goal for the FBI was shooting through stuff.
Right.
To hit somebody. Because what happened during that shootout in 1986, a man got hit with a 9mm bullet and he did not go down.
Mm-hmm.
It went through his... Damn.
I can't hear it this time.
Can you hear it?
I can't hear it.
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. What happened in 1986, a man got hit with a 9mm bullet. It went through his arm, went through his ribs, and it stopped just short of his heart. And it did not take him down immediately. So they wanted a bullet they could bust through that arm, bust through that ribs, and hit that heart or hit in them lungs to knock him out.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the goal. And the 9mm bullet, this one bullet in that one case did not do it. So they said, we got to change.
So that one scenario sparked this whole thing.
And some people had old school revolvers. And here's another thing what happened. If you read the report, they got in the crash before the shootout happened, and some of the guns got lost. So one officer, when they got in the crash, the gun just flew somewhere. Some people came out there with no guns. So it was a lot of things that Rick rolled. You know what I mean?
I got you.
Imagine you in a car with a gun,
high speed check,
and you get in a crash. That gun go. So,
but it's my thing. If I'm chasing somebody as a police officer, we shooting out the window. Do you think that's safe?
A lot of places don't do that no more.
I'm just saying.
And you see what happened. What happened. They got the car trash, the guns went somewhere. They had to use the backup guns.
Right.
They had to use the backup guns.
I got you.
Now,
go ahead.
From this test, guess who came in first place, Brandon?
Penetration is 10mm.
10mm. And a close second was a 45. And a long third place was a 9mm. So they shot 40 rounds of each caliber. 97.5% of the 10mm went past 12 inches. 92% of the 40 cal went past 12 inches. 64% of the 9mm went past 12 inches. But before you say a word, that 9mm is not the same 9mm today.
Right.
Technology.
Go ahead.
Like the man said in our previous videos, technology's vastly improved, and they slowed that bullet down.
Right.
So a 9mm needs speed to be effective.
Right. That's the whole point, really.
To an extent.
Yeah.
To an extent.
If you slow any of the bullets down, they're not going to be as effective.
To an extent, Brandon. To an extent. Because also in this report, if y'all guys comment, I can put it up, but if y'all don't comment, I won't. If you increase the speed of a 10mm or a 45, they are slightly less effective.
Right. But that's just like if you're shooting in the rain or if it's really windy when you're trying to hit a target, like all that stuff is going to affect, not necessarily the penetration, but all of that stuff plays effect.
It does.
All of it plays effect.
If you shoot it too fast, the hollow point can't expand properly and stopping it may just go through you.
Right. They designed a certain way for a reason.
Yes. All right. This is the guy from the FBI. He said the best performing round within the parameters of the FBI test protocol was a 10mm. In conclusion, was obviously the best performing round within the parameters, 10mm. The director of the FBI approved the recommendation that a new 10 millimeter cartridge is being adopted as a standard caliber for a new FBI pistol, and the new pistol be procured in significant quantities to replace the existing revolvers. Brandon, one of our comments said the 10 millimeter bullet was designed during this process, which is fake. That's wrong.
That's false.
Yes. The 10 millimeter came out in 1983, around 1983. The FBI didn't start doing the testing until 1987.
Yeah.
So they were saying I'm wrong. Provided information that was correct.
Right.
Now, Brandon, why do you think they don't we don't see the 10 millimeter adopted by police officers today?
Well, on the screen it says heavy recall for one woman. So I'm guessing. Go ahead.
That's what a lot of comment people say. It's
okay.
The recoil was too. Now these are comments now.
Okay.
People I never met don't know. The recoil was too strong for a woman. You think that'll stop the implementation of this 9 millimeter?
I don't think so. I think it may have been just too much for some people anyway in general. And if you got a better option, why not just go with that option?
Brandon, let me ask you a question. I know you were just a little boy then.
Okay, go ahead.
In 1990, did you have a Me Too movement? How was the guys behaving? How was the males behaving in 1990?
Well, we didn't have the internet and people weren't as connected. So no, we didn't have a Me Too movement. You know, we relied on newspaper for information. It just, you couldn't click up online like people like to do now and voice your opinions.
Was women so vocal back then?
No, they weren't. I mean, I'm pretty sure they were, but not where you can do it and have a group and everybody get louder and louder and louder.
That's a good case. But the majority of our comments said the 10 millimeter was canceled due to the heavy recoil is really from one woman.
Oh, okay.
Now, in my case study,
one woman said, and that's in
my case study, I found two. Mm-hmm. So, will you think this reasonably? Just think. Will you think the whole FBI that's nationwide,
right?
2 women complain will completely stop all the firearms for being issued?
No.
And I agree with you, Brandon. But the comment people said this what stopped it. You had one woman said she can't qualify, and they had to put it down.
Right.
Now, even though the director of the FBI said you could use your 9 millimeter or your 45, but since it's one woman complained, let's just scrap the whole thing. I don't think that happened.
Well, I feel like people got some information or heard some secondhand information and just ran with it just to try to disprove you. And, you know, I think a lot of people think, well, if I just say something in the comments, the person who did the video, they're probably not going to respond. Or even if they do, now I feel like I have power and I feel like I'm justified. And, you know, I want to go back and forth with somebody about how I feel because I'm so passionate about it. Well, even if I don't know what I'm talking about.
Here at Man in the Metaverse, we ain't that famous yet, so we gonna respond. we gonna respond. But based on the information I have and how I see things, I do have a certification procurement for stuff. Yeah. But this is why I think the real reason the 10 millimeter wasn't used. Brandon, what's the first thing? That's Smith & Wesson.
Smith & Wesson has not demonstrated the ability to produce a reliable, durable weapon for the FBI.
So here what was going on. They got a gun, right? The officer loads the gun, right? Put the gun in his holster. You know, I just put one in the chamber, right? He pulled the gun out. The motherfucker is jammed up. One guy.
And what's gonna happen?
One guy had to take a helmet. Pow, pow, pow. To unjam it. Brandon, right. This happens.
Is that safe? Right. That's what I'm saying. If you're an officer, you pulling your firearm.
Brandon, this ain't no one off. This happened a lot. And this happened at the facility they used to test this 10 millimeter.
Right.
Agents was coming in there with this gun. And they shoot it and they jammed up. You know?
But this is my thing. I trust Smith & Wesson. But why was this gun jamming though? Whoa.
Smith & Wesson didn't design it right. That's why it was jamming. So Smith & Wesson goofed up. So this gun, they procured roughly 9,000. Well, they signed a contract for roughly 9,000.
Mm-hmm.
When they started distributing a little of these guns out, you had a lot of complaints saying this gun was jamming. I mean, weird jams. Brad, I said you put one in the hole, then the gun locked up. Now the gun locked up.
But I'm just trying to make sure it wasn't the 10 millimeter. It was more on Smith & Wesson just not making a good gun.
It was more, in my opinion, it was more on Smith & Wesson, not a good gun. But guess what, Brandon?
What?
Who had the contract?
Mm-hmm.
This is a brand new caliber we try to implement on a mass scale.
Right.
And the government go off the cheapest, all the time, Brandon. I hate to tell you. The government go from the cheapest manufacturer.
Oh, okay,
and it's usually a sole source manufacturing. Sole source means it's one person who's making the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, Smith & Wesson, give us this thing. Let's do it. So every gun they shipped in, that thing was jamming up on you. So that led to the downfall. Also, the size and the weight. The size of it, some of the ladies, like I said, had a problem holding it because it was a huge gun.
Mm-hmm.
And the weight of the gun, if you have to carry this pistol for a long time with those big old rounds, you're gonna need suspenders to carry lift the pants up. You don't need no belt, you gotta have suspenders.
Right. And let's not just exclude the men, because some men have small hands, some men are small in stature too. So it's just, if it's not working, it's just not working. And it's not just one issue, it's a lot of issues.
Now you could go back in history. Most soldiers did not want to carry heavy guns.
Right.
You know, and so it's kind of a trend. Heavy ounces in the military, where they used to say ounces equals pain.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got to walk 20 miles a day, you want the lightest stuff you can have on you because it won't translate into pain.
Right. And not only that, if you running after a criminal with a heavy gun on your waist, bumping against your hips and stuff like that, you want a better option if it's out there. So
correct.
Just because you signed a contract with a gun and a caliber bullet don't mean you have to stick with it if a lot of people are complaining about it. Because the one thing you don't want to do is pull out a gun and it's you in a situation and it jammed. Now what you gonna do?
No, it's
or just you shoot one.
Lock up. No, it lock up, Brandon. I can have it locks up. You know, watch this, that 45 I got a $2 magazine used by magazines for $2. If I use that $2 magazine, the gun will lock up, Brandon. In it, you can't do nothing to it. You have to beat the thing out. You know, $2 magazine lock the whole gun up. Shit, one time did it lock up.
That's funny.
But see, people, now, do you want to leave the reproduce theory that two women out of thousands of people stop this gun for being implemented? Or do you want to believe this gun lock it up on everybody?
Right.
Stop.
Which one sounds more reasonable, or just which one makes more sense? Because that just doesn't make any sense 2 women complained, so they stopped it. When have they ever did that in the world?
Or to anybody complain.
Right.
But when you have a huge amount of people pulling the gun out, the thing is locked up, that's what you get. And I wanted to make one thing too, Brandon, about this. Hold on. I want one thing about this. Now, you see this test, how they test. This is for the people who hate 9mm. This test is wrong, Brandon, because I'm going to put this test in reality.
Okay.
Brandon, if you put a brick in one of your hands and you put a small rock in another hand, if you throw the brick at 5 miles per hour and you throw the rock at 5 miles per hour, which one gonna hurt the most?
The brick.
That's what they did with this test.
Right.
They made it biased.
Right.
They slowed that 9mm down so much, and when it hit, it didn't do nothing.
Right.
And you put the 9mm, a rock, against some bricks going the same speed going at your head. So who's gonna win?
Correct. But you know what that made me think about? You might not remember this, but we was in high school one day and we was talking about some physics stuff. I don't even know how we got on that subject, but I think we were saying, I think somebody, I can't remember who said it, but somebody was saying if you take a tennis ball and you hit it with a racket, you might be able to hit it as far as you can hit a baseball with a baseball bat. Do you remember that? Do you remember that conversation?
If you take a tennis
ball and a tennis racket and try to hit it as hard as you can almost hit it as far as you can hit a baseball with a baseball bat.
No,
that's what I say. Yeah, no, and that's one of the times I really thought about like physics and how things work. But I guess you think you may be able to do it, but no. When you have that bat and you have the ball hitting it when it's coming at the bat, hitting it. You can drive it further than just trying to hit a tennis racket and a tennis ball, or hit a tennis ball with a racket. But I think somebody was trying to make the argument that you can still because I guess it was easier to hit the tennis ball than it was hitting the baseball.
Now, this is random. I believe you could swing a baseball bat faster than you could swing a tennis racket.
Correct.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, correct.
I believe you could throw a baseball faster than you could throw a tennis ball. Will you believe that?
Further. You're talking about throw it further.
Faster.
You can throw it faster. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
I ain't never seen no tennis ball go 100-something miles per hour. And you ain't gonna never
You're not gonna see
it. You do that.
But if you put it in a pitching machine, do you think it's not going to go as fast as the ball is, the baseball is, just because of the weight? But that's just part of physics. You can almost get it. It's not as close as you can get the baseball, but that's just part of physics and how gravity works and how weighted objects are when you throw them. Like if you throw a brick, if you throw a little small rock, it's going to be different.
Watch this. Can you squeeze a tennis ball, Brandon?
And you do what now?
Take a tennis ball. Can you squeeze it?
Yeah, you can squeeze it.
And it flex?
Yeah, because it's got air in it.
Take a tennis racket. When you hit the
strings.
Can it flex?
Yeah.
That takes away some of the speed and impact too, because it's going to absorb some of it.
Yeah, correct.
When you squeeze a baseball, does it flex?
No.
How about a baseball bat?
No.
So that force going to be directly applied to the other side.
And it's going to be right.
So,
gotcha.
Brandon, why you bring up something like that?
Because that's what made me think about it. I thought you was about to do a physics question, a real one.
So, the 10mm was a failure and not used on a mass scale. Why put that in history? So, do we want to watch this video again? I use the word develop. Develop means everything I just said in this presentation in one word, developed. And I think people don't want to know what that word is, Brandon.
Do they not want to know, or they just got their answer in their head? And whenever you say something that they don't agree with, that's what they're going to go with. It doesn't matter what words you said. You left out 10mm. That's all they heard.
I didn't leave it out. I said the word develop. That included 10 millimeter, if you know the history.
But they didn't hear it. They didn't hear 10 millimeter. That's what they were looking for.
I don't know. I think people.
I think they want to argue.
I think they don't know words, and they don't know words in general. Boy, they don't let me pull up. Should I put? You got anything you want to talk about?